Garrick Utley is NBC's News Bureau Chief in Berlin, and before that assignment, he spent 18 months covering the war in Vietnam. So, if I might, Mr. Utley, I'd like to begin by asking you how you feel about whether or not we should cease the bombings in North Vietnam.
Well, Bobbie, this is the question right now, whether to try and arrive at some sort of talks, if not negotiations, with the North Vietnam. Of course, the price has been announced, assuming that the North Vietnamese statement is true, that we must stop the bombing of North Vietnam. I, for one, feel that this is a chance which we should not let pass by. I was in Vietnam when the bombing started. This was 3 years ago, and I felt then, as many of my colleagues and many people in the military felt, and I still do feel, that the bombing of North Vietnam itself is not going to bring this war to an end. Militarily, it does not stop the North Vietnamese from fighting in South Vietnam. And I think we could perhaps give in on this point if we were to get the North Vietnamese to sit down at a table. And once they do sit down, then there's a great deal of burden on their side to produce something. And we'll see what happens.
Let's get to talking now about your present beat, which is Berlin and that part of Europe. Do you consider the neo-Nazi movement, is that the big story in Germany right now?
Well, it's the big news story in the sense it's the story that attracts all the attention, especially outside of Germany. Germans themselves there follow it. They are worried about it, but they are not panic-stricken, as it seems people in other countries have been in the past. This National Democratic Party, which is rightly called neo-Nazi, wins about 8 to 10% of the votes in a series of state elections. But it has been estimated that anywhere from 12 to 15% of the West German population harbors these extreme nationalist feelings, and so therefore it is not surprising that a party has risen which is able to organize these people and articulate their frustrations and their complaints. So I'm not overly worried about it at the moment. I would be if their voting strength were to go above, let's say, 15%.
What age group belongs to this movement?
By and large, it's the elderly, middle-aged, people who, if not members of the Nazi Party, at least were sons and daughters of Nazi activists. There are, however, some young Germans who are members of the NPD. This does worry Germans. But by and large, I'd say that the young Germans are adamantly opposed to the National Democratic Party.
The people who do believe in this philosophy, is it the same old Nazi philosophy, or does it have new ramifications?
Well, the tone reminds one of the Nazi period, though it is not, of course, the same as when Adolf Hitler was the Führer in Germany. It is the same tone with updated, so to speak. They carry out their frustrations or direct their frustrations at people like the foreign workers and even the United States now. So it's a modern version of this age-old German problem.
Is it important for Americans to be concerned about this movement, Mr. Utley?
I would be concerned about it. Again, I would not be overly concerned about it. It is a problem. It has come up in the last few years. It could pose a threat. It's the kind of problem one must watch closely, both Americans and above all Germans. But it's not the kind of a problem which I would say right now would be the cause for many of the dire warnings and predictions which have been made.
Thank you very much for talking with us today, Mr. Garrick Utley, who is NBC News Bureau Chief in Berlin. And this is Bobbie Wygant. Until next time then, bye-bye.